I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm whatever you want me to be. It all comes down to the same thing. You're in a loving place or you're in an unloving place. I just want to be myself. If I lose a few fringe people who can't deal with the fact that there's other forces in the world, that's okay with me.
The meaning of life? You want to know what it is? Love yourself.
Jim Carrey is loved by many, known for his roles in Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, Ace Ventura, and many more. He's made a name as one of the funniest people on earth. Although for decades, there has been a spiritual side to Jim that is often overlooked or misinterpreted. In 2009, he told a story about a mystical experience he had, which pushed him down a path of spiritual awakening.
A few months ago, after knowing Eckhart Tolle for a while and studying the books, I woke up and I suddenly got it. I understood suddenly how thought was just an illusory thing. And how thought is responsible for, if not all, most of the suffering we experience. And then I suddenly felt like I was looking at these thoughts from another perspective. And I wondered, who is it that's aware that I'm thinking? And suddenly I was thrown into this expansive, amazing feeling of freedom from myself, from my problems. I saw that I was bigger than what I do. I was bigger than my body. I was everything and everyone. I was no longer a fragment of the universe. I was the universe. And ever since that day, I've been trying to get back there. It's like riding a wave. Sometimes I'm on, sometimes I'm off. But at least I know where I want to go. And I want to take as many people with me as I possibly can, because the feeling is amazing. You know, it's our intention. Our intention is everything. Nothing happens on this planet without it. Not one single thing has ever been accomplished without intention. So I started thinking about my life, and I started thinking about this conference and what we're about, and I looked back and I thought, well, I was two people my whole life. I was in the living room entertaining people, being a monkey, you know, doing my thing for the company and trying to relieve my mother, who was suffering. She had rheumatoid arthritis and phlebitis and everything under the sun that was nagging at her, and she was depressed. And I wanted her to be free. And I wanted her to realize that her life was worth something because she gave birth to someone who was worth something. And then I would go into my room and I would sit with a legal pad. I was a little kid. And I would sit there and I would try to figure out what it meant, what it was all about. Why are we here? What is this?
Jim describes that he once read from Buddha that all spirituality is relieving from suffering. Similarly, Buddha summarized the reality of suffering in the four truths. 1. Our lives are pervaded by suffering, both obvious and subtle. 2. There is an identifiable cause of our suffering. 3. Because we know its cause, we can free ourselves from suffering. And 4. There is a specific path we can follow to end suffering, which consists of meditation, wisdom, and ethical living. Buddha's teachings on suffering resonated with Jim, as he realized that he was trying to relieve his mother from suffering all along.
One day, I read something from Buddha that said that all spirituality is about relieving suffering. And I suddenly realized that's what I'm doing in the other room. And and I'm aligned. My purpose is aligned with this. So I felt incredibly lucky. I lose sight of that all the time. I get caught up in different concerns and ego concerns. But I'm so lucky to be a part of this community and to do something that is of value.
And he's relieved more than just his mother from suffering. With countless timeless performances, there's something for everyone to find escape from their own life's strife. One of which being his portrayal of Andy Kaufman in the 1999 film Man on the Moon. Following the film, he had another awakening experience where he saw through his ego.
It was definitely an important moment in the process where I found myself subjugating Jim Carrey for Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton, and then at the end of it looking for Jim Carrey again and having trouble finding him. And at a certain point I realized, hey, wait a second, if it's so easy to lose Jim Carrey, who the hell is Jim Carrey? Or I was kind of watching from another place. And there's been a series of kind of awakenings I've had in my life, and people chalk it up to depression and all that stuff. I think that grief and sadness and all those things are the ticket home to nothing. I think that was a part of the process. There's been several other awakenings, and yet still I have a lot of egoic attachments that pull my attention and focus.
This experience suggests that the distinction between Jim Carrey and his iconic roles can become blurred. However, Jim has an interesting perspective on this notion.
You said you've kind of disassociated yourself with Jim Carrey, but does everyone, when we see your face, there's so many iconic roles and so many of our favorite movies, from Eternal Sunshine, Dumb and Dumber and everything.
That has nothing to do with Jim Carrey.
That has nothing to do with Jim Carrey.
Nothing at all to do with Jim Carrey. That's just what happened. And it is wonderful, and there's insane gratitude around it, and wonder around it. How did it happen? And fulfillment from it. And I look back at it and I see something beautiful that rose out of nothing and happened for no one. It just was.
Like, it was almost like every 6 months to a year, we saw this huge Jim Carrey comedy. Do you miss that?
No, I honestly, there's nothing but this. You're my universe. You know what I mean? So I'm not looking forward and I'm not looking backward, and I'm not, the aspect of this that's backward to me is like a contemporary thing. What's good about this movie? It's not a look back. It's a contemporary concept. It's what's happening right now inside everybody is they're going, who am I? And they're depressed, a lot of people, because they're trying to hold up an image in the world. And that's what depression is. People go like, oh, Jim's been depressed and stuff. Well, yeah, I was depressed when I was trying to be the Wizard of Oz instead of the sweaty guy behind the curtain. But now I know that Oz is the character, and I think that everybody deals with that. Everybody walks around and they go like, why am I depressed? Well, it's because you're trying to be something for the world, and as soon as you let that go, better things happen because they're just happening. But it's not, now it's just sadness. Sadness comes, happiness comes. It's the weather that flies by the sky. It doesn't sit on you long enough to drown you,
As mentioned, Jim has struggled with depression. He previously mentioned depression as his body needing deep rest from putting on an act. Here he takes us further into that journey.
I've read a couple of places where you said you struggled with depression from time to time. I was on Prozac for a long time. Yep, I was on Prozac for a long time, and I'm not sure. It may have helped me out of a jam for a little bit, but people stay on it forever. I had to get off at a certain point because I realized that, everything's just okay. No peaks and valleys. There are peaks, there are valleys, but they're all kind of carved and smoothed out, and it feels like a low level of despair you live in, where you're not getting any answers, but you're living okay. And you can smile at the office, you know? But it's a low level of despair.
And you don't take any of them, you don't take anything there?
Nothing. I don't take anything. I rarely drink coffee. I'm very serious about no alcohol, no drugs. Life is too beautiful.
After talking to you for a couple of hours, I mean, I get this sense you are a big bundle of conflicting emotions.
Really? You get that sense from me?
Well, I think you're very emotional about a lot of things. It's all very close to the surface.
Yeah, it is. I've decided to be there. I only act in the movies.
And his level of authenticity is apparent in these interviews. Perhaps it's because he's able to detach from his psyche and see a bigger picture.
I think that we're all trying to add things to ourselves so that we can finally define ourselves, and then everybody will get us and they'll go, okay, this is what you are. And then if you actually get there, you will find it so empty that you'll realize that's really not what it's about. It's about not only, just going with the flow, but it's about not taking it personally. It's like the difference between a house and my house is a world of difference, and it's the my that's the problem. So you can do all this without the my involved. You can do it in a way that it's not, life isn't happening to you, it's happening for for the good of everyone. It's just it's a play. It's a giant field of consciousness dancing for itself, and you're here to make me happy, and it's making itself happy. It's like one soul. That's how I feel. I feel like people say, well, I have a soul. You don't have a soul. There's no you, but I feel like there is a soul, and it includes everything. And when you wake up in the morning and you feel like I'm the universe, you don't have to reach for the stars. You can just let life happen and walk through the doors.